Welcome back to Grace-Based Christian Coaching, where we help ambitious women build lives directed by God and not driven by anxiety. I am your host, Alexandra Cavill, Christian life and leadership coach for women who are carrying a lot and want to walk in more peace, clarity, and purpose. Today, we're talking about how GSCC, what I lovingly called a side hustle back in the day, about tripled in growth over this past year. And you know what? The wildest part is, you guys. My favorite part of it all really is that this happened while working part-time, about 20 hours a week, and as a mom to three preschool-aged girlies. To me, that is a testament of what God can do. So if you have been showing up wondering when your big results would come, this conversation is for you. And this is your reminder that you're certainly not failing and that He is most certainly at work, even if it might be hard to believe. By the end of this conversation, you're going to be feeling focused, encouraged, and more motivated than ever to keep moving forward. I'm spilling the scoop on what worked and what didn't, and what you might want to try in your work and life based on Grace-Based Christian Coaching's best year yet. So, when we first launched into this new year, I knew things would be good. We were blessed with three girls in under 3 years. So, this was a big year because it was the first year where I wasn't navigating work with a new baby and in postpartum chaos, but honestly had no idea the level of just epicness that was about to happen. But before we dig into what all that looked like, I want to speak to what set me up really well that you might appreciate and might want to try out too. And it was this. It was a daily posting challenge where I challenged myself to post to my Instagram stories or a feed post for 30 days, no skipping. And it was revolutionary. It really supported me in that quote, decided heart mentality, and it exercised an I can do it muscle in a way that really hadn't been for quite some time. And the other thing that was so big about this is it released perfectionism. And that's really like, that was what our biggest year yet was built on. Showing up imperfectly, but consistently. And that's exactly what this episode is coming to you with right now, right? Like I am recording this at night. There's not the perfect lighting, everything just so, but it's happening, it's being done, and I know the content is so strong, and that's what we're leading with. And so think about what that is for you. What would it look like to show up imperfectly, but consistently and commit to doing just that? Okay, so let's dig in. This is the place where I think is important to start. This, if I had to say what the it factor was, this was it. It is something that I have created personally on the back end, and I refer to it as my CEO report. It's something that I do once a month. Um, and there's different, it's a spreadsheet, super, super simple. I am like the worst with Excel. So if I can do it, you can do it. But there are categories with qualitative data and quantitative data. If you are also, quick aside, if you are a current client or you plan to be a client soon, ask about it and I'll get you your very own template so that you can have a copy of it too. But to give you a little taste of what's included, and if you want to start something like this on your own, it can look like two simple questions. Asking yourself at the end of every month, one, what is working? What is going well that you plan to and need to do more of? And then two, what are the lessons learned? What is the Lord revealing to you that perhaps isn't going the best? And what do you need to change or shift and plan for differently for the next month because of that? So start there. Of course, you can add all different other types of data like subscribers, clients, things like that. But if you do this consistently, the years that I've done this, hands down, knocked it out of the park, the most success. Another tool, a favorite. Was I as consistent every month with this one? No, I wasn't, but the months that I did mattered. And it was the power sheets. They're just so great, so grand. If you have been following along, you've probably listened to the podcast episode that I did. I want to say maybe this was in February with Laura Casey, the founder of Cultivate What Matters, who created the power sheets. Um, but really, just her work, her focus of doing goal setting in just a different, fun way, like that's part of how GSCC was born. So that was another one. And you guys, this is a kind of a random one, but I'm going to throw it in here. Okay, ready for it? It is this. It is a long notepad. I love a to-do list as much as the next gal, and I got to a point where I had post-its everywhere and it was driving me mad. And just having a longer list to make things clean, to have it written out, um, really just freed up a lot of brain space. And that's something else to talk to, right? Like our physical environment, it really does matter. And so maybe what are one or two things that you need to honor in your physical environment and tend to that because it will make an impact. It will change things. No shame in that. I have definitely consolidated and rewritten a to-do list in pretty handwriting. And you know what? That was a major step in making momentum and moving forward. All right, so some tools. The next biggest one that created significant change was investing. Maybe this is your permission slip to hear that and say, okay, I'm going to go do the thing. I'm going to go sign up for what I've been meaning to because it matters, because it makes a change. So for me, it looked like a lot of education. There were a few courses, there were several one-on-one coaches that I worked with. And you know what? I'll add to this that was that it helped to dial in a lot of what I was doing. It was work that was refinement based. And so just know that what you're doing, it doesn't have to be revolutionary for results to be revolutionary, okay? Like it can look like refinement and that can just shoot you off to skyrocket to that next level. That's what it's looked like over here these days. Consistency, sharing on the podcast and YouTube, regular content creation. Clearly, the years in which I've done this, oh, for better or for worse, it makes a difference. It does. So I checked earlier today and we got out 33 episodes over 2025, which was a major one. And so we are looking to match that or more in the new year. So more content, make sure you're subscribed if you are not already, because the lineup is so solid. And then investing in community. And this was not from a financial standpoint, but just like a really natural, organic business bestie friendship that came out. Shout out to Holly. I love you so much. Our conversations over the past year and a half have just been so like to feel seen, to idea share with someone, just to be like comforted and reminded who you are and to do it with someone who is also a believer, like you need this, you need this. And so it's something that we offer here through Grace-Based Christian Coaching is Flourish. It is a group mastermind, small group opportunity and experience where we support you in growing in work, growing in faith, and growing in community with other like-minded women. So if you're not part of our email list, visit gracebaskedchristiancoaching.com/subscribe to make sure you hear when we are launching that. And also, if you're really passionate about this, mark your calendar. I don't think we are launching a behind the scenes one for influencers, content creators at the end of January. So if you catch this before that and you really want in, send me a note. We might have one more spot for it, but otherwise, not launching again until September. So you'll likely hear more about that in August. But investing, that was another major one. Okay, next are beliefs. This is huge. And this is a core tenet of the coaching that you experience one-on-one through Grace-Based Christian Coaching. It all starts with beliefs. Because from your beliefs come our thoughts or our actions. If we're believing something, we're probably thinking something. And then from our thoughts and our actions come our behavior. I'm sorry, from our thoughts and our feelings come our behaviors and our actions. If we're in a great mood, we're probably going to have a little bit better actions and decisions. If we're having a hard day, maybe our actions are going to reflect that. And then ultimately, from our actions come our results. So what you are believing is ultimately tied to the results that you are getting. So, with that, what do we need to do to shake up your beliefs? This is a core area that we work on in one on one coaching at GSCC. So, for me, one of the core beliefs, if you want to take this to and run with it, was I am someone who fill in the blank. Who is the Lord calling you to become? What is He inviting you into? Start carrying yourself like that now. Begin making decisions that that woman would. See yourself the way that she is and go for it. Okay, this was another one that I actually, the Lord kind of divine downloaded, dropped for a client in a session, which I ended up kind of adopting for myself too, which was really, really fun. And it's this: you are God's favorite, and act like that. And the Bible tells us, like, we are favored, we are set apart. He loves and adores you. What if you really let that be real and true for you? One of my favorite episodes that we had published in the past year was from October 6th, 2025, and it was how to trust God instead of your insecurities. You know, we are counting ourselves out for things that God is counting us in for. So, I very passionately believe it's time to wake up and step into that, and trust Him above your own insecurities and see what changes, because it's going to be a lot. The next one is a belief of like really putting it in perspective. Think about your family. Like when I put things into perspective, always, always, always perform better that way. Moms out there, listen up to this. Becoming a mom doesn't take your quote it factor away, but it will give you your edge. Okay, that was something that I was really worried about becoming a mom, that I wouldn't have the energy or the focus or the time or the capacity. And yeah, a lot actually did change. That is true. But ultimately, it gave me an edge. It gave me a focus. It gave me a fire, unlike anything else would. And so, if you are in it, you're in the trenches, you're in those early days, trust, give it time, keep showing up, and you will be surprised and delighted with what happens. Okay, the next category, if you will, guys, is how. So I always say it's not just what you're doing, but it's how you're doing it that really matters. And what I'll say here is consistency counts. It does. This is the one of the biggest factors that I see in clients that have the most unbelievable results. So, one of the coolest things that I never expected when launching Grace-Based Christian Coaching is the client longevity. My longest standing client, I think we're about to go on year 7, maybe even 8. And the average client has probably been with GSCC for 3 to 4 years. Like when people come in, they stick around because the results are there. You just begin living differently and experiencing fruit that it blows your mind in the best way. And so consistency counts. Showing up again and again and again, and refining and learning from it. That's what produces change. That has become so real for me too. The next one is pausing is productive. Be reflective and focus on what's ahead to you. Like I just talked about in that CEO report, it took time, it took discipline, it took dedication to show up when I had a million other things on my plate too and reflect. But clearly that created change and it mattered. And one more: serving you is serving them. Your lifestyle is the business strategy for a lot of you. And this, you guys, I'm going to be real, it challenged me for sure, especially as someone who loves to work and be productive. But when I focused on caring for myself, being humble, tending to my own human needs, and just living a rich life, it paid off. It did. I am officially in my mid to late 30s now, and had heard this phrase recently with another sweet, sweet lady who I had on the podcast. And she said this: that can until you can't. And I gotta say, as I am year after year, and as a mom to little ones, like that has been so real. And it is humbling, but you know what? I am grateful for it because I'm leading a more fun and full and balanced life, honoring the limits that the Lord has given me. So I'd invite you to try that too and see what comes from it. Okay, and another one. This, I mean, I could get emotional thinking about this one. And it's the personal category. It is getting plugged in to community, to Bible study at my local church. This was massive. The prayer, the friendship, the encouragement that I received personally, professionally, spiritually. It, favorite highlight of 2025. Do it. I would 100 times over. If you are not plugged into a local church, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. This is critical. The Bible talks about it. It's important. It's going to be one of the biggest blessings that you could ask for or imagine. Do it. Okay, and a few other launches. Um, a challenge. This is something that I had done earlier in the year, which was kind of fun, different. Again, exercising that muscle that you can do hard things. You sure can. And one of the people who had experienced the challenge rolled into my small group mastermind, Flourish, which was so fun. So speaking of, that was something that was not on the plan for 2025, yet the Lord had different plans in mind. And that was something that just grew above what I anticipated, in that there were 5 cohorts total of Flourish. I guess you can count 6 if you count the one that we're about to launch in the new year that we recruited for, with about 25 to 30 women experiencing um, growth, God-centered growth alongside one another in faith, in work, and in community. It is pretty epic and just really, truly unbelievable to be part of leading that. And then new branding. If you haven't checked out our website, visit grace-based-coaching.com and see. We've upgraded y'all to match the upgrades that are happening in serving clients and the client results that y'all have been experiencing. And it was time for the website to get a little bit of a facelift too. So really pumped about that. And then a few other highlights before we speak about a couple things that didn't work. And then we'll close it with something really personal. It was one of the factors, I'd say, too, for the momentum that came this year. All right, so there were some fabulous guest interviews I was so honored to host. One of them being Laura Casey of Cultivate What Matters. One of our conversations I listened to multiple times. It was that good. She just dropped so much great wisdom, and it was an honor and privilege to have her on here, Building Faith First podcast and YouTube channel. And then it did some great guest podcasting. You guys might be familiar with Stephanie Mae Wilson of Girls Night. She came on the scene even before GSCC in the maybe like 2013, 2014, was doing some really cool work and has grown in some pretty neat ways. And that was definitely a pinch me moment to be featured on her podcast. I want to say that episode went live around August. One of the other highlights I would say that you might want to experience too is just planning for what's available on your calendar, right? It's so basic, but maybe this is a challenge you have to, is to overschedule, to overcommit, to think that you can do more than you can. What I say, a phrase that I've coined, is I oftentimes calendarize my to-do list. So I pop it on and kind of place it 9 to 10. This is what I'm going to do. 10 to 10:30. That's what I'm going to do. Things like that. And I would always squeeze more things in times where I would need to be driving or eating meal or picking up my girlies, things like that. And I would just get so frustrated and discouraged that not everything that I had on the calendar was getting done. And so you know what? I just put things in the amount of time that I had to accomplish them. And it was just so much more of a positive experience to be able to do what I actually had the space for. So something to think about if that's maybe something you struggle with too. Another highlight was YouTube. That was something that I began to do consistently in 2025, and there were results from that. And then last but not least was bringing back the VA. So, and we've had to go through a few people. Right now, we are on our third this year. The other ladies were sweet and lovely and wonderful, but just it just wasn't the best fit either way, and that's okay. That's okay, and that's part of the experience. But we're really thinking third time's the charm over here, and just feel wildly blessed to have our new gal on board. She is just so fabulous and fun, and I cannot wait to get even more content out to y'all because of her support here. And you know what? Yes, is it uncomfortable, a little bit scary to have someone be on board when you are a solopreneur? It is, and it's definitely an investment. But my energy and how I show up for my family, for you guys, for my clients, it matters. And that is an investment that I believe is worth making and stand behind. Okay, so the scoop on what didn't work. All right, bittersweet, the oldies. So if you've been around for a while, you've probably heard of a few different things like our Side Hustle Success ebook, the Art of Gratitude online workshop, From Overwhelmed to Overjoyed workbook. I still firmly stand behind these and the content that is in them. There was so much love and care and focus poured into it. And like, if you follow them and do them, you are going to experience some pretty epic results. But I'm wondering if it's sharing them more often, sharing them differently, or maybe creating some new content for y'all is the direction to go next. But I would say what didn't work. It's not that they don't work. It's just the way in which we were sharing didn't necessarily experience the numbers that we thought we might through it. The next one, this might be a shock. Speaking engagements. So I believe there were about three that come to mind from 2025, and they were good and they were fabulous. And the message that the Lord gave me through them, all major success, like major highlight and favorite of the year. Yet, one-on-one clients didn't come from them this past year. And what I'll share there is like, yes, is it good to get exposure? Is it good to do something different and outside the norm of what you usually do? Absolutely. Optics can be fun, but they don't always necessarily move the needle. And so I just want to be open and transparent and share a little behind the scenes there with you. So if there's something that you've been doing and expected that was going to be your it thing where you blow up and it just didn't happen that way, like that's okay. That's okay. But what did you take from it? What can you take from it? And how can you use it and put it towards other avenues that are working? Okay. And then last but not least, that was kind of surprising, was guest podcast appearances. So there were a good handful of those that I was honored and privileged to share in the past year. But when I ask incoming clients how they find GSCC, how we're connected, podcast guest appearances weren't one of them. So that was kind of interesting and fascinating, and definitely doing some work and considering how to change the approach there in that arena too. Okay, ending on a really fun note of what the Lord revealed at the end of this year that I truly believe is going to explode our growth in 2026. And it's this: said with humility and awe in mind. And it's that I am the plan. The Lord is saying, go all in. So, my question for you guys here is, what are your excuses? Be open, be honest, be real about them. Because for me, for so long, mine was, well, what if I tagged along with this company? Let me hop in with them. Or when I partner with her or that organization, everything's going to change. That's when things will blow up. But this year, What the Lord had made apparent and clear is that perhaps Him and me are the plan. And this isn't to say no or never do collaborations again. I don't think that's it. But He made it clear and challenged me to go all in, Him and I, with consistency around what's being shared and how I show up at Grace-Based Christian Coaching. And that mindset, the way I'm moving because of that, is changing everything. So, for you, what is it that you might not want to believe, but is in fact the it factor for moving forward? Think on that, sit with that, journal on it, pray, and maybe, just maybe, you will have your breakthrough there too. Okay, guys, we talked about what happened, what worked, what didn't. I would love to know, what did you love? What surprised you? What do you want to adopt as your own? Take a couple minutes, if you will. If this episode was a gift to you, please take a second, leave a rating, a review, a comment. It would truly mean the world. I pour my heart into this for y'all. And if it's a blessing, it would mean so much to know that this is something that stands out for you and you appreciate what the podcast offers. And what I'm going to do is wrap here, leaving you with 5 questions to consider to put a bow on it for today. And it's this: 1, what worked this year? 2, what did not work? 3, what is the Lord calling you to try in the new year? What is He calling you to believe? And who is He calling you to link arms with? If you loved it today, definitely subscribe, because in our next episode, I am sharing what I will be focused on in 2026 following our most successful year yet. And y'all, it is juicy. It is good. You don't want to miss this. I'm so happy to have chatted with you today. Thank you for joining, and I'll see you back next time.